Good morning, everyone, and a wonderful Monday morning to you. Welcome again to our next installment of Walking the Word, the Power of God Ministries weekly devotional series. My name is Kevin Stewart. I'm one of the leaders here with the Power of God Ministry. And this morning, we're continuing this week on our topic of knowing God's will. And our anchor verse still is Romans 12, verses 1 and 2. This morning, we're going to focus on verse 1 because it focuses on the topic we want to cover this week, which is worship. So I'm reading from the Amplified, and it says, I appeal to you, therefore, brethren, and beg of you in view of all the mercies of God, to make a decisive dedication of your bodies, presenting all your members and faculties as a living sacrifice, holy, devoted, consecrated, and well-pleasing to God, which is your reasonable, rational, and intelligent service and spiritual worship. So, Paul says to the church at Rome, the first step in knowing God's will is to offer him or present him a sacrifice, and specifically to present our bodies as that living sacrifice to God. A sacrifice, if you didn't really think about it, a sacrifice really is giving up or surrendering something of worth and significance for the sake of something of greater worth and significance. So Paul is saying in this case that in the presentation of our bodies, we're giving up our bodies of worth and significance to us, to God, for the sake of knowing his will, to God, who is of greater significance and worth than the body we're actually presenting to him. So our mind, our will, our emotion, and our physical body is of great worth, but God of far greater worth. And he says we're presenting this as a living sacrifice, as our spiritual or reasonable act of worship. And that's what we're talking about this morning. You see, the word Paul uses for worship in Greek translates to either worship or service in English. They can be used interchangeably. But what it highlights is how inextricably linked worship is to service. For whatever you worship or whomever you worship, you will also serve. And Jesus understood this because in the book of Luke, in the account of Jesus' temptation in the wilderness, the devil took Jesus up to a high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and said to him, all this I'll give you if you would bow down and worship me. What was Jesus' response to the devil's request for worship? He said, it is written, worship the Lord your God, and him alone shall you serve. So there it is. The two are inextricably linked. Whatever you worship or give worth, ascribe value and significance to, you will serve. That is, it will get your financial resources, your possessions, it will get your time, and it will get your abilities and your capabilities invested in it in a way that demonstrates its value to you. So the question on the table is, what can God not ask of you or ask from you? Because it is so precious. It is where you worship. It is what gets your service. For some of us, it's our career or a career path and career goals. For others, it's not career, but our social standing and social acceptance. It is an approval and affirmation from a certain social group. It is whatever it is we've wrapped our identity into, say, I can't do without this. I am not me without this thing. This is what defines me. That thing is what we worship. And that thing is where we have service. In Matthew, Jesus says, no one can serve two masters. You'll either love the one or hate the other, or you'll care about the one and despise the other. And so we're at a crossroads as we seek the will of God this morning. And the crossroads is, do I give up my current worship in exchange for the worship that gets me to know God's will? Or do I hold on to the thing for fear that God will take it from me and I don't get what God is actually offering me by asking me to surrender it? Today, if we truly want to know what the will of God is, I challenge us today to lay down the object of our worship today, if it is not the living God, and pick up worship for the living God, beginning with offering to him the sacrifice he requires, our bodies as that living sacrifice. The Lord bless you this morning.